Welcome to the 5% Club podcast, the space where ambitious leaders go to master their careers and their lives. I'm Shayla King, a former C-suite executive turned performance and happiness coach. And this is the podcast for leaders who want it all. The promotions, the paychecks, and luxurious amounts of time for what matters most. Each week, I'll teach you how to work less, make more, and design a life you love. Let's go. Welcome back to the 5% Club podcast, where we focus on evolving your performance and your happiness. This is episode 3. Feel stuck in middle management? Here's why leaders don't make it to the executive level. I'm Shayla King, your coach, cheerleader, and accountability partner. And today I am in Cancun, Mexico, where I come often. I'm by the ocean, and the birds are really loud today. So if you get to hear them in the background, you're welcome. Today, we're going to dive into one of the top problems that people come to me for. They feel stuck in middle management and don't know how to get out. So they might have some ideas on why they think it's going on, but they don't know how to change their circumstances so that they can be seen as absolutely the most prepared, the best person for that next role that opens. And so that's what we're going to go through today. So during my corporate career, I was part of the selection and training for thousands of leaders. So I know exactly why leaders get chosen for certain roles and exactly why they don't. And today I'm going to explain it all. So it might not be what you think. We're going to go through it in a concept that I call tragedy of the high performers. So you have all been there. Almost everyone that comes to me is a high performer, is known for getting things done, for being the go-to person. And what happens at the beginning of your career is you get more done than others. You get recognized for that. You get promotions for that. You get paid for that. You get rewarded for that. And everyone is like, oh my gosh, they're amazing. They're the go-to. And here's what happens. I want you to imagine that you have a plate of food. So you start out and everyone on the team has a dinner plate. It's got some salmon. It's got some rice. It's got some vegetables. And everyone on the team should have that same plate of food. But Tommy over here isn't doing so good at handling his plate of food. And so they end up saying, we need to put some of this work somewhere else. And so you're doing great with your work plate. And so they say, can you take it on? And you're like, of course I can. I love to step up and be helpful. And I really will get a chance to show them what I'm worth. Show them how much value I can add. So you take part of Tommy's food. And he ends up with a little roll plate. And that's all he has is a little dinner roll plate. And so he's got the small one and you've got the middle plate, but it's got some extra food on it now. Well, before you know it, now they see you as the person who can get things done and can handle a lot more than most people. So what happens? They give you more food and more food and more food until you end up with a platter. And I have think about going to the giant buffet and you put 5 plates of food worth of food on one giant platter. It's overflowing. It's falling on the ground. You've got meatloaf falling off and mac and cheese hanging off the side. And then they give you another platter and another platter and another platter. I have this lovely visual of this waiter that's trying to carry 14 different platters at once. That's what you end up looking like. So what happens is you stop getting promoted anymore and your work life sucks because it's so demanding and there's so much work on your plate. And now for the first time ever, you're not performing at that highest level because they give you so much work until you no longer can perform and you accept it. And worst of all, half the time you're volunteering for things. It's not even just that you were voluntold, right? Some of it, you're the first one to raise your hand because you've seen in the past that stepping up really helped. Stepping up got you promotion. Stepping up got you recognized. And you never turn that off. Keep volunteering for everything. And now you're the guy with the platter with mac and cheese falling off of his plate, right? You're not enjoying your work because it's so busy and it seems like some of the stuff you're working on isn't even that important. And it's stressful and it feels like you can never catch up. This is when you're going home at night and you're putting the kids to bed and jumping back on to try to get a few more emails done so the morning isn't as rough. But no matter how many hours you put in, no matter how many productivity hacks that you come up with, and you've gone to the training and you've done the tools and you've got your timers going and you've tried all the things, right? No matter how much you do that, you still can't ever get caught up. There's still always something else to do. And so what happens is we end up in middle management and we're working harder than ever. And we're no longer even being seen as having potential for promotion. Now, some of my clients will look around and say, well, they're promoting somebody else because, and think that it's for a wrong reason, or it's because of a prior relationship or nepotism, or it's a man's world. And listen, there's some of all of that for sure. But also what it is that sometimes when you just keep your head down and you're just working all of the time, you lose the relationships and you don't get as much exposure to people. People aren't even aware of what you can do. And your boss sometimes doesn't want them to know because you're their go-to. They could never replace you. This is important. They could never replace you because you do the work of 3 people. They have to hire 3 people to replace you, right? And then a big strategic project comes down. They can't possibly give it to you. You're too busy already. There's no way you could handle it. There's no room on your plate. You also get boxed in to being the doer. So now you're the doer. You're the one that everyone can go to for anything that they need done. They can always count on you, but you're not a strategic thinker. You're the workhorse that just gets things done. This is literally how they think about you, right? It went from being the highest performer that we could trust and we loved on our team and we wanted to give everything to high performing doer. And that's where you're leveling out. And that's exactly the problem that we have to fix. And so what is normally missed out on is being a strategic thinker, is having discernment and essentialism so that you can actually know what's important and what's not. Getting out of office housework. So planning the meetings or the team get-togethers, planning lunches, taking notes at every meeting, doing lots of admin work if your role's not an admin, right? Doing non-promotable activities. And it's not that we won't be a team player, do some of this. It's that you've overloaded it. You've gone way too far, right? And so what I have all of my clients do that you can do as well is for the first 30 days. So from right now, for the next 30 days, you're going to say no to everything. You're not going to add a single thing to your plate. Okay. Now, we're not going to volunteer like we typically do. We're not going to raise our hand. We're not going to say, I'm the perfect person to help with that because you want to show off your skills. We're going to say no for 30 days. Right. And so part of what we want to do is give you room to be able to even breathe. So then we can start the assessment process and really look at what are you working on and why, so that we can do the discernment. So part of what I work on with my clients is getting out of all of that unnecessary work to free you up. And we're going to free you up for a couple of things. We're going to free you up for the strategic big projects that actually move the needle at your company. We're going to free you up for strategic thinking about where your organization should be going and what you should be doing for your team and with leadership. And we're going to teach you the essential skills of how to manage up. Because you're probably pretty good at getting things done, working with your team, having a cadence of accountability around the initiatives that you have. But what we work on is that communication up. So how are you communicating with your leader? Are you good at storytelling? Do they understand exactly how you're taking the company vision and how your team fits into that? What your initiatives are, what your roadmap is, and how is your cadence of communication with them on those initiatives? The more that you start to get better at that communication and the more that your leadership starts to really understand that you are busy on important things driving the organization forward, then they start giving you less and less busy work, right? There's no way I'm going to give that to Susan. Susan's working on that big project for us. I'm going to give it to Billy because who knows what Billy's working on, right? Because Billy's not as good at storytelling and explaining his strategy to his leader. These are important things to learn as you move to the executive roles. A lot more of your time is going to be on communication, gaining buy-in, telling the story, selling the vision, not just to your team, but to your peers and to leadership. And so that is part of the skills that we really hone inside the Performance and Happiness Lab. And so we are first going to slow things down And you're going to be able to understand what you're actually working on and why, figure out what you can say no to, and then I'm going to have you add some things back in. And the biggest thing that people miss is the relationships. So we'll go through this more in the future, but inside of the performance and happiness formula, we go through three things: your results, your relationships, and your rituals. And as I mentioned before, most of the time leaders that are in middle management are good at getting things done. So the results that we're going to teach is actually the skill sets that you need for executive success, the things that are missing there. And then relationships, so much you've been so busy and drowning with those plates of work that you haven't been spending as much time proactively building those relationships. You have to do that to get the role. So what happens is somebody will say, I'm leaving, or somebody will be getting a promotion for another role. Leadership is then proactive and immediately says, what's our backup plan going to be? Then they say, I know, let's put Pete in the role. And they'll say, Pete's told me he was interested in this kind of role. And he's already gone through like some of the succession program stuff and the training programs we've got. He's already had a team this size. I think he'll be perfect. They decide it's going to be Pete. And then the announcement comes out that Hector's leaving, and they already know it's Pete, and you never knew Hector was leaving. There was no job posted. There was no opportunity for you to apply. We have to get you in front of those decision makers earlier on so they know your interest, so that they know what you want, and so that they have a good image of you and they understand the capabilities and skill sets you bring to the situation. If you wait to apply to the role, you're already too late most of the time, especially for senior roles. So the 3 R's, again, we're going to do executive results, the things you need that are like discernment, strategy, storytelling, essentialism are absolutely key for executives to know. Second, we're going to go through relationships, create a proactive plan for you on what relationships you need to build with key decision makers. And that could be inside of your company or outside of your company. And if you're looking at roles outside of your company, you've got to build that strong network now. And so that's exactly what I work with my clients on, is creating that exact plan and then going through the how as well. And finally is the rituals. And your rituals are going to be what gives you the physical and emotional energy in order to be able to perform at that level. And I'm talking about, we want to have enough energy that you can get your plate of work done, which will be smaller, but it'll be more high level. It'll have a bigger impact. The decisions that you make will be more critical to the business, right? So that's pressure. And we're going to know how to handle that pressure emotionally. We're going to have the physical energy for it to where we can handle our day, no problem. And when we come home, we're not dying. I have so many clients that have told me that by the time that they actually get home, they're just completely exhausted. And one of my clients said, I hate to say this out loud, but when I walk in the door, when I get home, I just think to myself, please don't talk to me. Please don't talk to me. And it's because I just need a few minutes to decompress from work. And I love my spouse and I love my kids, but I just need some time. And so that is why rituals is so important as well. So you'll end up knowing how to do the executive results. You'll have the relationships with the people actually making the decisions, and you'll have the energy to not only be able to come through at work, but to enjoy your whole life. Remember, everything we do in the 5% Club is about increasing your performance and your happiness. If you're feeling stuck in middle management, know this: you don't have to stay there. You just need to learn the right skills to elevate your performance to the executive level, develop the relationships that you need so you have the image and exposure across your organization so they proactively know about you before those things open, and the rituals to give the energy to be able to perform and love your life. Each week on the pod, I'm going to give you one piece of evolvement that you can use to implement that week and immediately start seeing improvement in your performance and your happiness. So with everything we covered today, what I want you to focus on this week for your evolved work is to try out the strategy of add nothing. We're not volunteering for anything. We're not taking anything on. And if someone asks us to do something, we're going to have to get back to them after we look at our priorities and our schedule. Sound good? All right, I'll see everyone back here next week like clockwork, every Tuesday morning, me with you, and let's evolve together. Thanks for joining me in the 5% Club today. If you're ready to work less, make more, and design a life you love, go to ShaylaKing.com to join the 5% Club waitlist. Each Monday, I'll send you something you can implement immediately, and you'll be the first to know when applications open for the Performance and Happiness Lab, my group training program designed to accelerate you into a happy, confident executive who loves their whole life. See you there.